Welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Star Fox has finally come to Linux. Unfortunately, it's in the form of a randomly generated hipster polygon mess, and I built me a Ryzen rig. Let me tell you about it.
All right, Half-Life 3 may be dead, but you can still root around in Episode 3's guts, if it works. And RPS3 has a brand new update. Something lizard protein.
Some people get to pick and choose their war. I get to pick and choose boogers while I wait for XCOM 2 to download. And then I tell you all about how my mouse got flipped, turned upside down. It only take a minute, so sit right there. No, I'm not going to keep that going.
I'm Venn Stone, broadcasting to you live here in Athens, joined every week by our man up north, Mr. Bubblegum Water himself. Jordan Bubblegum's Fang, and holding down Europe for now. That is
hello. Yes,
and together with
it'll always be
dynamic, helping us form that last little bit. We like to call Cocaine Voltron before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We do like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. Tell me about that bubblegum water. What led to that purchase, baby?
I was straight up impulse buy. I saw it in the aisles of the grocery store. I've had this before. This is the beverage that outsells Coca-Cola in Scotland. So, I mean, fuck, right? I know there's enough UK people, so I figured I'd drink that in front of them and talk shit about their favorite soft drink. I got Fan Expo this week, so I've been for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and tomorrow, if I have the energy after this, I've been going and doing the con thing, playing board games and RPGs and shit, socializing with people, and being fully exhausted by the end of it. Fuck, I'm spent. Welcome to the next Gamecast. What about you, Shitheel? What are you doing?
Shitheel? Really?
Yeah, you man.
Fine. Well, actually, I haven't been doing much this week, even though there was a bank holiday on Monday. Outside of that, it's been mostly work, and I get home at around 6 p.m. and I just sit down and play some video games. So yeah, I guess not much has been going on around here.
Mad dash craziness, putting together this Ryzen box that we'll talk about later on in the show. I have my pass to Dragon Con for another year that I won't be able to attend, but hey, man, I'd rather be here hanging out with you lot.
No, you wouldn't.
Come on. Listen, I thought I said that very convincingly.
You thought wrong.
You thought, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we've strapped the horse into the electric chair. We're gonna put some bolts in it and see what kind of life comes out of it. It's the Steam
Linux
update.
All right. So this comes from Dark Side of Gaming. DSOG. DSOG sounds like something really, really nasty. But anyways, so there was a leak a while ago, we covered it, where a bunch of unfinished levels from Half-Life 2 Episode 3 were released. There was a project that was trying to recreate them in Unreal Engine 4, but some modders have released a fixed-up... Sorry, I thought I had a burp there. Enhanced
fixed up,
version,
quote-unquote.
Yeah, of the Half-Life 2 Episode 3 levels, just so you can dick around with them. I don't know what level of completion they're in. I downloaded them, I installed the Source SDK 2017 single player, switched to the beta branch, I installed all the Half-Life 2s, which were already done because we did Synergy on Tuesday. There we go. And yeah, it just doesn't fucking launch. There may be some issues remaining on Linux. I didn't really interrogate it much further than that. I made a note of it, and then I got way too stoned and forgot about it.
Well, one of the things I'm thinking about, I think this is probably just going to be one of the tsunami of these things we're about to start seeing, because there's also development of a Half-Life 3 or Episode 2 Half-Life 3 continuation mod in using Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
Which I've seen. So,
do you think someone's going to try and gamify like that outline that guy leaked last week?
Oh, hells yes.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Telltale buys the rights to it.
And it never ceases.
No.
You know what's going to happen. It's going to be a thing. It's going to be real. Oh, man. Okay. This... What the hell?
This came out of early access. Yes.
Shock
You didn't
and
see it
or
coming.
awe.
I didn't see it coming. No one saw it coming, but it's ARK Survival Evolved. It's out of early access. Yeah, you heard that right. ARK Survival Evolved is out of early access. And they have
there's a poopy butthole there. Look at it.
Yeah, there's a poopy butthole, and they say that you can now, if you're one of those people that played ARK Survival Evolved for the story, you're weird, but you can actually learn all about the story now because they finally finished implementing all of the story bits into ARK. But it's one of those multiplayer survival crafting elements, first-person shooter things on Steam. You know, the ones you know for a fact will probably never ever come out of early access, except this one had to break the mold. Because it did.
So what are we waiting on now? We're waiting on Overgrowth, I guess, is the last. Overgrowth and Distance. Those are the two white whales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are definitely two. And do you think I'm wrong on this? Is what I put in the note. Empty. We got to throw a shout out. He was a bit cross with us in the show notes that there was no early Arxis puns. He was disappointed. I personally believe that Ark was kind of thrown out of early access for Linux using UE Engine 4, which means it runs like ours, which also means that's something I need to test on the Ryzen box too. But PUBG, eating that lunch, son. They had to do something to try to get that money coming back in, right? Because the type of people who play these fucking games, they just hop to the next thing and they want to be on the next thing. And Ark, not the next thing anymore.
Nope. And PUBG has kind of eaten that lunch, had coffee, pooped it out, and ordered some takeout for dinner.
So would you say that they've missed their Ark?
Oh yes, completely.
There you go, Empty. There's your Ark-related pun.
If you go to Steam charts and you compare Ark Survival Evolved to PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, it's like, by the time that PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds came out, Ark had around 100,000 concurrent users on average. Pretty good. Very respectable for a video game that was in early access. That's pretty goddamn good, actually. And then around March 2017, Ark finally dipped below PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds basically going all the way up to 140,000, while Ark was dipping down to 73,000. And right now, we're sitting at PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds with 931,000 concurrent players, and Ark with just over 70,000.
Well, you see, they were trying to do a little bit of a cash grab with this release, it seems, but it kind of backfired on them, which brings us to our next story from PC Gamers. So apparently, there's a bit of a bug with Steam refunds for UC. If you have a game in early access, or at least it used to be this, they fixed it in like a couple hours or days or something. But it used to be, at least earlier this week when they released Ark Survival Evolved. If you bought the game in early access and then the game was released, the refund window was reset. So if you had more than 14 days of it owned or 2 hours of actual play, you could straight up get a refund, and a bunch of people were. And Ark realized the Ark guys realized this, threw a bit of a hissy fit, and Valve shut this down. So it's interesting that this kind of bug wasn't really exposed. I guess because like no one really had like the same level of early access volume compared to something like Ark. But
man, you know, honestly, with the whole Ark thing, I couldn't wish it on a better development team. Yeah, I'm talking about the development team that released DLC for their early access title.
Oh yeah, no, they released an expansion pack
and a MOBA
for their early access title,
and the Game of the Year collector's pack too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, now it's not the game of any year because no one's buying it.
Oh,
but,
no.
I mean,
Steam reviews dipped below the positives to the mixed a while back, and they never really recovered. And they kind of pushed it out to a release state so they could get that second wave of people going, oh, it's not early access anymore. I'm actually going to get in and play it. Admittedly, I'm one of those people. Fortunately for them, I don't own the game. I looked at it and I said,
and that's the thing too. Sandy was like really enjoying it. When I was talking to him, he would just not shut up about the terror birds and whatnot in Ark. So I mean, I guess there's fun to be had there if you like dinosaur Minecraft, but there are other games that can fill that void. But Pedro,
just on the topic of Ark, right quick, it's one of the problems with sustained early access development. You can get burnt out on the game long before it gets released.
Oh yeah, it's happened before, and it will keep happening. Well, as long as there isn't.
I mean that and the just the nature of the game changing while it develops, right? That's why all these early access games that get out of release have all these switches. Unfuck this in the options. Darkest Dungeon has that in spades.
Well, yeah, I kind of like what Linux Nero said. Valve didn't know about this bug because nothing ever gets released from early access.
Oh, snap!
Burn!
Snap!
All right, so let's pick and choose our battles because, hey, Farrell's announced not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but 5. I got 5 freaking emails saying that XCOM 2 War of the Chosen was out.
Don't give it
Thanks,
to you.
Farrell.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
it's out. They said that it was going to be a September release date, but then they said they released it on like August 31st, so September 0.
Yeah, it was August 31st in the US and Canada, but it was right around midnight, 1 a.m. here in the UK and, all the GMT places. It's out. It's the DLC / expansion pack for XCOM 2. And I've been trying my damnedest to download this game, but with my shit internet connection, it will take more than 24 hours consecutive at 5 megabits per second to download all 56 gigs of this game.
I just got to comment that here in 250 megabit downland, I can finally laugh at your crappy internet connection again. All right, I'm done.
I downloaded it, but that drive didn't survive the move, so I got to download it again in 80 megabit land, which is nowhere near as good as 250 land. It's going to take a while, but what is it? 30? Yeah, $39.99.
Yep.
It's an expansion pack, and
it jacks up the difficulty is what.
It's got a bunch of new stuff
it
in it.
adds a ton of new content. It's the difficulty, as Jordan already mentioned. You get just a whole new level of fuck you hard. And it's XCOM. It's more XCOM. If you've played all the way through XCOM 2 and you want more, there it is.
Yeah, apparently they took some inspiration from the Long War mod as well. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. You're still going to run into those situations. 99% chance of hit. Miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some hipster Polygon, Skyrogue,
Is this going to become a thing like hipster N64?
Roguelike, action fight
That's
simulator, procedurally generated. Right? Do we have local co-op? See, online multiplayer, people. This is 2017. Get with it. It definitely looks all right, like a cel-shaded version of a kind of sort of inspired Star Fox fighting.
What was that arcade game called? It looked a lot like that.
Donkey Kong. It's currently $19.99. And let's see, what are we looking at? It just requires Ubuntu. You just need the install media, maybe a thumb drive to run it. So
yeah,
I think that's definitely going to be a thing. $20. I don't know if it had an online multiplayer. I might consider taking a look at it.
Yeah,
I did send him an email.
Star Fox is never really my thing. I can maybe see how this would be enjoyable. Especially maybe with local co-op, but yeah, I agree with you, Venn. Network multiplayer needs to be like a really standard feature, and I think it should be a little bit on the game engines like Unity and Unreal. To,
it is, but it is. Listen.
Yeah, you got to make that shit as painless as possible.
Know that this game runs Unity, but it looks like a Unity title.
Yeah,
it does. Multiplayer functionality is kind of baked into Unity. You really have to go, now I want to do it, in order not to do it. So, I mean, if it's part of your game design, your decision like that, I understand, but that always that always will help your sales, man. Even if you use like Unity's built-in matchmaking system, which is dog shit, but it's better than nothing. And yeah, Star Fox was fun to look at. My mom knew the team that developed the Super FX chip. I met those guys when I was little.
Maybe we should get them on the Wednesday show.
If they're still alive, I guess they are.
It's like, hey, you remember my mom?
Right. That's definitely a thing. So, it's not PUBG. It's Burst the Game.
Yeah, it's
shovelware.
yeah. It's not a pre-alpha.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Maybe it is.
Hang on. Does that not reek of ballistic overkill right there?
Yeah, no, it's the same model.
It does. It looks like the exact same UI.
It is the exact same assets. But yeah, you're right. It is. It's basically a cobbled together Unity shooter, sort of in the style of PUBG, as we have spoke before. Lots of people or lots of companies are trying to hop on that bandwagon. People like the open world shooty bits, Daisy, PUBG type thing. So this team's attempt at it, except it's free to play, chock full of microtransactions. Apparently, I don't know. It has mostly negative reviews. Most of them are pretty much.
You know, looking at the screenshots and the trailer, it looks like one of those proper shit asset flip shovelware titles that we see come out on Steam all the goddamn time now.
It does have one thing that stands out, though. Apparently, you need to be running Mesa only because you need the elusive Linux DirectX compatibility.
Yeah, you can only be running, for me, NVIDIA cards and NVIDIA cards to get proper DX functionality on Linux.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, cobbled together, asset flip, stick. I mean, it looks like a lot of, then again, I don't know how much original art was in Ballistic Overkill. Completely forgettable. I didn't know it had a bunch of microtransactions in it.
Yeah, people are complaining about that when you check out the reviews.
It is free to play, so it is to be expected.
So
yeah, how else are they going to get their $100 back?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They made a sequel to a game about a ship that drives around in the ocean that can put most normal people to sleep.
And it's an early access.
Oh yeah. We threw some cheers at Sunless Sea a while ago. It was basically a roguelike ship exploration game, sort of like a gimped up Windward with some I don't know, with some story, I guess.
Gimped up and dozed down, because Windward is at least fun to play. For you maybe. You can go check out my live stream to see how fun it really is to play. Anyways, or check out mine and see how fun it is.
This one has space trains though, so that already gives it a leg up, because I love space and loves me some trains. One thing that really kind of bugged me about Sunless Sea though was like the sheer lack of fuel really sort of harms the exploration mechanic. Hopefully they gave you a little more fuel so you can poke around. But this is the sequel, successor, follow-up thing, whatever, to Sunless Sea. It's in early access. It's almost $30 Canadian. Hot diggity damn. I don't know. There's some good stuff in Sunless Sea. Maybe they've learned some lessons from the previous game.
I tried. Sunless Sea was one of those things. Everyone's like, well, not everyone. The people who are into it, it's one of those things. You're into it. You're not into it. No amount of trying to get into it is going to fix that. You see, this is boring as piss. And I unfortunately, or fortunately, was on that team. Jordan, yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's see. Wet Stinky American Cash has got $24.99, and it's undone. And honestly, it basically just looks like an expansion pack of.
It looks exactly like Sunless Sea. Yes.
Yeah.
And around here, it's usually £19.99. It's currently down to $17.09. No, see, I was really hopeful for Sunless Sea because I wanted something like Windward, but that was a little bit more story focused. Because Windward is just pure go in, have fun, shoot each other. It's a basic
wander
game.
around in circles, be bored.
No, Windward is something to kill time because your only advanced strategy is to drive around in circles.
Basically, yeah,
left.
that's how you get good in Windward, is you go around in circles around the other boats and you do things. That's fair. So I wanted something that was a bit more involved, something that had a bit more story. And I thought, Sunless Sea may be just that. No, it's boring. It's genuinely boring. And I don't see Sunless Skies, at least from what I've seen of people on YouTube and the trailer and the screenshots. It's not an improvement in that respect.
So speaking of like gimped up reinterpretations of games, what's this gimped up reinterpretation of Hyperlife Drifter?
Gimped up reinterpretation of Zelda. It's actually taking it back all the way back to the Zelda games because it is basically aping Zelda at every chance it gets.
Wait, you mean because it has triangles in it?
It has triangles. The first thing you do is get
so
sword.
many triangles.
It tries to do some of the roguelike bits. You can get you can set permadeath, and every run you'll do is different, and every save you generate has a different seed, which means that all the levels are sort of kind of they're tile based, but they are those tiles are randomly associated with one another to give you different run throughs every single time. I had a chance to try it out because the devs sent a ski, so kudos on them for that. Thank you very much. I had a chance to try it out, and the combat is actually not terrible. It's a little bit janky, but
Sorry.
It is to be expected. And the one thing, there are two things that bug me. One of them is that when the game first starts, it asks you to hold up on whatever controller you happen to have handy. And for me, it was the Steam controller, and the moment it filled up the bar, it opened up the Steam controller configuration window, and it does it every single time you start the game.
All right,
That's just stupid.
What do I have to hit on my Nintendo Power Pad to make that?
Up.
You gotta reach your hands up to the sky and then
No, just hold up either on the D-pad
There's
or
no up on a Nintendo Power Pad. It's a format, Pedro.
I don't know. And the second thing that really bugged me was the music. Those chip tunes are probably the single most annoying thing I've ever heard, short of Jordan's voice.
Yeah.
Case in point.
All right. Well, poorly timed digs aside. Coming up next, we got a mouse review, and someone tries to dethrone Lutris. It's not gonna end well. Strider's all teeth and nails, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time it is. Well, it's not time for the news just yet because, for some reason, a lot of you decided it was a good idea to literally grab some change and throw it at our heads as hard as you can. And we appreciate it. We really do.
To be fair, I really wish you folks would maybe put it in an envelope and mail it to us, as opposed to actually throwing it at your monitors, because it's useless to us otherwise. But we got some other people we want to thank who actually followed through with that. They like so many other awesome people, headed over to LinuxGameCast.com, clicked the support the shows button, and took advantage of our Amazon affiliate links, or our Amazon wish list,
awesome,
or our PayPal buttons.
Oh my god!
Or our Bitcoin QR code. And we got no Dogecoin, but that's coming. But they're even cooler people. So cool that they went to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast and logged in, registered with their credit card or PayPal account, and send us recurring money every week. The people like Pennywise and
people,
yeah, people, man, you got to drop the bass. And speaking of Amazon wish lists, we gotta thank Jason Terry for sending us some USB hubs, and Venn. I think we got a mystery box. What's in the box? What's in the box?
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't have time.
Shit,
we'll be talking in a little bit about the Ryzen box. That's what I've been busy doing. So I have a science box opener. It was located next to the science crackers.
Riveting television, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, man, keep talking because there is a slight chance that I will slice my hand open.
Yes, that's kind of what I'm not so secretly hoping for.
How often do we straight up do like an unboxing video on LinuxGameCast?
Okay.
Unboxing
I'm assuming
section.
this is from our wish list, and it's hopefully.
Blam! Blam! Oh wait, we got some padding.
Well, it's not anthrax, so I guess that's a plus. Hi, I say.
we got plastic bags. Awesome.
Sweet, I'm gonna put them over my face. Oh, it's a cable?
Oh, snap. We got the USB cables, the extension.
The USBs.
2 meters. I think, yeah, these are 2 meters.
All right.
These are awesome. One of these is going to be for a secondary camera. That's going to make life a lot easier. And I know what this is.
Is it a shower curtain?
Yep. No, it's not a shower curtain. This is the blackout curtain because where we're moving the studio into the basement, it's either a bunch of like 3 fucky windows or one giant ass window. So one giant ass blackout acoustic curtain.
Okay, Venn, your hands are way too big. That thing in your hand looks way too small.
So we don't have a from on the box.
No, we don't. This could be from Michael. He sent me. He fired me a warning shot. One of those ominous things. On Twitter, he's like, "Some things are heading your way," and it's kind of scary at this point because all the stuff that we have on our wish list is like work stuff now, and this is awesome. You guys have just seriously enabled cheat mode for building this thing out, and work gets. The desk is coming, like the centerpiece to build everything around. Should be here Thursday. It's a glass desk, so everyone take bets on how many pieces it comes in. But hopefully, it'll all come in the correct pieces, and we'll get something set up, man. Because I want to film some of this stuff and maybe live stream some of it. Thanks, everyone. It's kind of unreal. Unreal.
It is mental. This has like been our little fucking podunk podcast that we do Saturday nights for like 5 years, and all of a sudden people are sending us like expensive things like motherboard and RAM and life-size blow-up Antonio Banderas stalls. It's we really appreciate it.
Oh, and gerbils.
Yeah, someone sent me this.
Speaking of,
wait. We closed out the end of the month on Patreon, Jordan. Do you hear me? Did you hear that, Mr. Sveg? Mr. Anderson? That's the sound of serious Sam, BFE.
You don't understand. On September, what is it, 30th? I was like, before midnight, I was like smashing refresh on Patreon. I'm like, come on, dip below 200, dip below 200, dip below 200. So yeah, Thursdays, my stream, we're gonna start doing some Sam BFE. So if y'all want to hang around,
16
join me.
players. We're going to be bringing in patrons.
Yeah, yes. And anyone who wants in is in. It's probably going to start usually about 7:30 Eastern Moon Time. If you want voice, let me know like that morning or before.
We're going to do that, and we're going to rotate around because with time zone stuff like that, I mean, there might be Sunday streams earlier for people in the UK.
Possibly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know for a fact that Wimpy kicked in just he's like, yeah, all right, suffer swag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
you can fucking watch it after
one
that.
thing, your support, no commercials and all that. You just got to listen to us ramble for a few minutes every week, just like praising you and thanking you for this. But one thing it allows us to do is something we're dipping our little tiny toe organs in. That's hardware reviews. And Pedro, you got another one for us.
Oh yes, on let's see, 2 weeks ago, yes, someone decided to be very, very, very generous and spend some wet stinkies on this white Rocat Kova, the 2016 version, a pure performance gaming edition, as they call it, because it's not a pure Kova in the lineup. It's like a bastardized version between the Cone Plus and the old Kova series. And even though the person that was actively developing the Linux software is no longer working on it, he said that he wouldn't be adding new devices, but the Kova 2016 was one of the devices that was already supported. So if you want to get one for your Linux box, chances are you can build it from source. There's a package on some repo for your distribution at some point. Since I'm running Ubuntu Mate, I just loaded up the PPA, and hey, check it out. It works. You can set different LED colors on the wheel and what they call the pipe on the back. You can also set 5 different profiles, and you can set 5 different applications per profile, which automatically change as soon as the Rocat event handler detects that a new application is running. It goes, oh, right, you're running that. Boop. It changes the profile of the mouse. It changes all of the configurations to that profile. And Jordan, last week you asked if when you alt-tabbed out of a game, say, and you went to the desktop, it would actually change back to the default profile. It does. It actually does.
That's neat. So if you were to ascribe some kind of chair ranking to it, what would maybe on a scale from 1 to 4?
As it stands right now, 4 chairs. Yeah.
All right. Well, you got a 4-chair mouse. You can check out the full video. It's on LinuxGameCast.com. We got that lovely little carousel that goes around.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. 5-minute video gets you in and out. You know, Pedro sent me the original cut. It was a little over 6 hours long.
12 minutes.
Yeah, it's like Lord of the Rings extended edition.
Exactly. The third one too. Jesus, that was the only time I was like, "Ooh, the extended edition. I'm going to watch that." Put the DVD in. Exactly, and the time code started with
as you peel yourself off the couch afterwards.
Nope. No, that looks really cool, and the software seems to work basically without a hitch. And I think we might have some laptops or some other devices in the pipes. We'll tell you about that later when we get around to it. But Iculus approved something that he said he was never going to do.
Well, he said specifically, because I distinctly remember him saying that he wouldn't be introducing Vulkan support to SDL2. He said that, in fact, I'm pretty sure he said that on that interview, what we did on Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays. But he also did say in that same interview that he wouldn't stop other people from doing it. If they wanted to do it, they could do it. That's just fine. So not only did he not stop them, he actively went in and merged the patches for Vulkan support in SDL2. According to his post, this work was done by Jacob Lifshay and Mark Callow. So all he did was merge everything into the master branch, and hey, SDL 2.6 will feature some proper Vulkan support as a result.
I mean, at this point, like, why would you use anything other than SDL2? It handles the cross-platform. It does the Vulkan.
Marketing.
It supports all the controllers. It's just really becoming like one of the most high-quality open source. Not even open source. Like, I would say straight up one of the most high-quality games.
Listen, man, I don't trust the open source stuff. That's made by communists.
Yeah, that's the thing. Proprietary,
not open source.
Proprietary middleware has marketing behind it. They can sell it to people. They can make it seem like everything else is a load of shit. Especially, they won't even mention the open source stuff, or if they do, they'll say this like, "Oh, that's just like an amateur project."
I think the solution to this, though, is to appeal to the inherent laziness that is present in every developer ever, and say,
it still requires a bit of marketing.
It does require some marketing, but I really think if you have a really easy time to sell this, you'll have an easy time selling this to people. It's like, yeah, it just supports it. It does it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. Just get it in.
We'll compile it. Hey, we need to add you need to support a new platform. Hey, does SDL support it? Cool. Make. Boom.
I mean, it's really good, the two technologies, when you think about it, because you have Vulkan that runs on everything, and now you have it mixed with SDL2, which runs on everything. So, confirmed DX12 is in fact the future, brah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Totally.
I checked at the Project Scorpio booth at Fan Expo, and they just threw some bags of Doritos at me. It was kind of hilarious.
It's pretty good, man. Hey, man, Humble is back, and this time it's a jumbo bundle number 9. Not a whole lot of Linux in this, but there is just a little taste, man. Human Fall Flat was the one I was interested in. And, well, I mean, it's there. Did we get another? Yeah. Verdun, the game that is in every single Humble Bundle. Not really. Yes, really. And
American Fuck Simulator.
American
the DLC
Truck Simulator.
The DLC-less one. So it's not really a great deal because you need to pay $10 for ultimately 3 Linux games. If you want to pay, though, actually, we're throwing chairs at Human Fall Flat. So if you like what you see from the Chairquisition, you can pick it up for $1 while they're still
and
done.
I also guess we probably should mention that there's a spooky bundle that
Spooped.
if you were listening to the produced version on your podcatcher and it's Monday, if you go right now, you might be able to pick it up. Yeah.
No, it might still be a couple of hours, but chances are it's probably already over for you.
2 days, 14 hours. So Sunday night, you might be able to scoop it up. But there's actually quite a bit of Linux in there. I think all but 2 of the games in the below the pay the average will get you the Linux version. But who gives a shit about Five Nights at Freddy's or Dreadout? The one Dreadout that wasn't released on Linux because they did release the first one.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who would disagree with you when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's.
I know
there are entire YouTube channels dedicated to Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it.
Don't worry about it. Most of those 5-year-olds are now 7, so it's
so they're out of their pull-ups training pants. Gotcha. So Lutris, right? Everyone likes it.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, some French asshole makes it. I don't know what the deal is. And anyways, a much better project is the Games Nebula client from Yen Charkin, which is the open source version of GOG Nebula. You need to compile something called libgog downloader if you want to actually hook into the web API for GOG to manage your games. But again, the problem with Nebula, with GOG Nebula, is not even with the project, it's with GOG itself. There's no incremental updates. Every time you get a new update for your game, you got to download the entire kit and caboodle over again. There's if you're an Ubuntu user, you're gonna have an installer, and if you're an Arch user, then they give you something copy paste in your terminal so you can feel super elite. But here's the thing: Lutris is we were talking shit about it, but Lutris is the better product. It does most of this stuff, plus it will get your non-Linux stuff working in Wine. It has Steam integration, emulator integration. Just go use Lutris. Strider, you can thank me later. Go use Lutris. Don't look at this.
Yeah, that's the thing about Lutris is for as much shit as we give Strider, and we give him a lot of shit, most of it is deserved. I mean, it is Strider we're talking about, but no, he, as much as it pains me to admit, he did a very good job when it comes to installing old games or games from other platforms on Linux stupidly easy. I played all the way through Dark Souls on Linux, the first Dark Souls, obviously, on Linux with one click. It takes one click and it sets up Steam. All you need to do then is log into the Wine version of Steam that it installs. It automatically downloads the game. It sets DSFix, the custom mod that made the game basically playable on PC. From there, it's literally you just sit down and you play. That's
and the greatest thing about Lutris is that if some other project implements a feature that Strider wants in there, we'll just steal it.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. And I mean, you can always count on that. And last time I tried this particular project, built it, got it up, launched it, couldn't log into GOG, and quit caring because basically what Jordan's, I don't want to re-download everything all the time. And Lutris is great when it works. I mean, some days it does, some days it doesn't, but it's still a better product than this. So yeah, use Lutris. Hey, did we miss these guys last week or?
No, yeah, they took a week off.
They took another week off. This is their end of August progress report, and they got almost 1.5 times their playable games increased, which is really, really cool as they continue to improve the project. They've completely rewritten the vertex processing as well. They've moved it all from the CPU to the GPU. One thing they did actually bring up in this article, and these guys are psychopaths, they're like, can we implement Uber shaders for the PlayStation 3? And they quickly realized that no, they can't. Uber shaders, for those of you who didn't watch that episode, basically implementing a GPU within a GPU using Vulkan or OpenGL. It turns out they can't do it, but they're gonna try and fix the micro stutters, mega sharders. That's what I put it in the fucking show notes. Yeah, mega shards. But they got a couple new games almost fully playable. All the Metal Gear Solids are playable, which is awesome. Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch, which is actually a fun little RPG. Works as well, as does Devil May Cry, although they do have an issue with the Lucia campaign in DMC2, where for some reason they can't pass an argument, and therefore the Lucia campaign is unplayable. But Devil May Cry was fun. It's good to be able to play this on the Linuxes. Oh man, look at some of that texture popping. There's still gonna be some issues because this is very much a work in progress. But still, again, the fact that like within a year and a half, these guys have essentially put out an emulator that is more than capable of playing a good chunk of PlayStation 3 games. It's just astounding.
With Vulkan support.
Yes, with Vulkan support. It took them a while to get the Vulkan support down, and it was either them or Dolphin who are running into like the actual limitations of Vulkan.
Oh, that was Dolphin. They actually
was
ran Vulkan to the ground and said, "Oh yeah, it still needs some improvement." But these guys managed to implement Vulkan in record time because the project hasn't been around all that long, and Vulkan hasn't been around all that long. So yeah, it's actually amazing to see the progress that they've been making with each and every passing week.
And it seems to be every week, or at least every other week. Eventually, they're going to lose some steam, and we're going to have to find another way to pad our news segment. But I mean, it's pretty awesome. So, Venn, tell us about Ryzen.
Well, you wake up in the morning and you Ryzen to the occasion. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, you put bread in the oven and then you watch it Ryzen.
No, you take a piece of bread, put a little ice on it. You know, it's good times. Hey, if you don't know, if you're watching this is our shakedown because that's right. With your help, we kind of went in halvesies is what we did, everyone. On the box of business, what we ended up with was the MSI 350 chipset, the Tomahawk Ryzen 1700, not the X, none of that fanciness. 16 gigajoules of RAM at 3 gigahertz and NVMe drive and all that business. We put it together. Let's see if we can move over here. You can see it running the show right now.
Oh, I want that core count.
Look at that core
16
count.
threads. And kind of the insulting thing we realized during the break is, okay, it's not really doing anything, even though we're streaming, recording, backup recordings, backup audio recordings, and all that. I was looking at the CPU governor because I have it on the just stock to where it can clock down as low as 1 gigahertz or whatever it is. It's currently at 1.5 gigahertz, and that's all the load it can put on it. I mean, it can't phase it. It can't hurt it. Kind of amazing. So, good and bad, quick and short of it. Here's the thing. Tomahawk, the 350B chipset, LM sensors. You're not going to get any love with that. I'm going to just give you a quick rundown, buying guide, and we'll get in and out. The memory. This is going to be in the show notes because I kind of went YOLO expecting a BIOS update for the motherboard to fix the issue to get it up to 3,000. I got it at 2,996. It ended up working. That was good. Turns out, I mean, unless you're really going to overclock it, because this came with the Wraith Spire cooler, which let's use it and see how it works to begin with. If you're just going to be running it, realistically, if you're going to overclock with that without melting it, you're going to get about 3.5 gigahertz. I put it at 3.4 gigahertz, locked it at that, ran some benchmarks, not gaming, but like Geekbench and stuff like that. Got a score and went back, put it in cool and quiet mode where it can individually boost the cores. It's faster when it's running in cool and quiet. and we had to talk about that in the pre-shows and for reasons about that.
Did you try stress with it? The CLI stress testing we talked about last week?
Yeah, it did stress tests all day when I was at the studio. I mean, it was been crunching Blender.
Nice.
You know, it's been doing CUDA, the not OpenCL and CPU. It's cycled that for about 6.5 hours today.
I mentioned that in the pre-shows and too, but last night while I was playing Human Fall Flat, I see periodically Venn is playing Talos. Venn is playing Talos. Venn is playing Talos. I'm like, oh, someone's doing some benchmarks.
Definitely doing that. Speaking of that, what do you see with 3 gigahertz boost clock? I believe it's 3.6, 3.7. The single core IPC coming off an 8150. Yeah, it's definitely better. You see things like Goat Stimulator. I can play that at 1080p 60 with all the fuckery cut to 11 for the first time. That's kind of neat. That's kind of strange. NVMe. It's got an NVMe drive. It boots. No issues. You can't do LVM on that. We learned that. 1704, 1710, whatever version of Ubuntu. I think it's 04. Put on there. Had some weird hang up when I encrypted my home folder. I had to go back and just not do encryption on that. Gaming performance, it's all right. I mean,
you mentioned before that like the improvement between the 8150 and the Ryzen the R7 is not that great when it comes to the Talos Vulkan.
No, it's Vulkan. You're seeing the limitations of the 980. I mean,
yeah.
That's it.
That will, even with the FX8370E, it uses 100% of the 1080, and the old FX chip is going like, yeah, I actually got another 50% I can use.
But, you know, we're looking at the future. We're going to be seeing a lot more games come out because even with the old 8350, 8150, Bulldozer, Pile Driver, stuff like that, games that could take advantage of 8 threads ran pretty good. And so that's going to be fun. Encoding, I do want to say this. We were talking about this in the pre-super shows, and one of the breakdown encodes that I do, this is the reason we got a Ryzen for the streaming, the recording, and the encoding, most importantly, I do on Sundays, is 24 minutes for the breakdown video that goes to YouTube for our Wednesday show, because we just did that with the 8150. With the Ryzen on the same YOLO drives, the YOLO RAID, not the NVMe, from 24 minutes to 4 minutes. 20 minutes.
Yeah. And Kloinka, just to address your point in chat realm, yes, you can put LVM on NVMe, you just can't boot off LVM.
True.
That was what Venn.
It's just the boot that doesn't work.
But if you use LVM, you know this. And if you don't, well, use BTRFS just to spite Strider, even though Red Hat is pulling.
And
anyway,
that's all I have to say about that. If you have any questions, send us some feedback. I'll be happy to answer. Though I'll be making some reviews, some videos about this more in depth. I just wanted to give everyone an update of my initial Ryzen experience, which I've only had for basically 26 hours. And that's that.
Later on, we'll find out if you can actually use it to make grilled cheese. Coming up next, we're gonna fall on our faces and then fall to infinity and then fall in love. See, I was gonna tell some kind of funny joke about this, but I kind of fell flat on my face. This is Human Fall Flat, No Breaks Games, done on the Unity engine. It's about If you timed it right, you could have grabbed it on Humble for $1, but normally it goes for around 15 of your local particular currency. What is it? Human Fall Flat is a quirky, I hate that fucking adjective, open-ended, physics-based puzzle and exploration game set in floating dreamscapes. Your goal is to escape these surreal dreams by solving puzzles with nothing but your wits and physics and noodle arms. We bought it for $1 because it was cheap. No keys this week. So let's cue the chairquisition. 1 chair means that's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that's pretty good. 4 chairs means that's great. And we got our categories mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So Venn, on the new, did you play this on the new Ryzen box of business, or is this still on the 8150?
This is one of the few ones that actually this will be the only game that got a taste of both on the old previous box of business, the 8150. it basically ran even at UHD 3840 by 2160 on the 980. No issues whatsoever on the current Tipsy Danger Box of Business 2.0 low, Ryzen 1700 at 3 gigajoules, 16 gigajoules of RAM with the same 980. Same thing, but more better same thing because it really will not drop below 60. Nor should it, because come on, this thing's about as complex as tofu. Not much to it.
It looks like tofu too.
Hey man, tofu's delicious. I do get a ding at a chair though, because I could not, effing life of me, and I run XFCE4, separate X screens, could not get the damn thing to go into a 1080p window to save my mothering life. So, for that irritating little bug, it gets 3 chairs.
Yeah, I didn't try getting it to run in a window, but I did play this on both the Steam box with the A10 5800K with the GTX 750 Ti, and this box with the i7 6700K and the GTX 980. Both ran perfectly fine, no real issues. Everything ran smoothly. Again, this game looks like a piece of wet tofu, so it's not going to be that graphically demanding. If anything, it would be the physics. But that's all done on CPU because, fuck Linux. Anyways, Fedora 2664-bit for both of those. I got to give it the, the 4 chairs.
4 chairs. I guess I should say I'm running Ubuntu 1704. Right.
Yeah.
All right. And over here on Ubuntu 1604 with the FX8370E and the 1080, I don't think I ever saw it drop below 150 FERPs after turning off VSync, because that's the first thing I do when I go into a game. I just turn off VSync, and it dipped to 160 at one point while it was loading the level, but then it went right back to the high 200s, low 300s, which is where it usually sits. So for me, it gets 4 chairs.
All right, well, that is 4 cheers for Mix with the working. How about Shiny and Sounds, Venn? What you think?
Shiny and Sounds, looking at this amazing visual, graphical juggernaut. Okay, it's basically flat textured. It looks like a prototype, and they said, fuck it, let's run with it, and just call it stylized, which is what they did. No, I mean, this is what they were going for. When you design something like this, it's simple, it's pretty simple, but it's intentional like this. This isn't lazily done. You can clearly tell that. Not much to say. I mean, imagine like a 3D world of no textures. This is an amazing world. Whatever you might say about the way it looks, what's really going to get you is the way it sounds. The soundtrack for this game is mood music times what the fuck, because it really genuinely puts your brain organ in a completely different place than what you're doing on screen. It's like, what the... okay, completely different feel. I'll let Pedro elaborate on that business a bit more, but I think it absolutely aesthetically nails what it was going for. And the music is WTF worthy in a good way. I'm glad to be able to say that, and I'm pretty positive about giving it 3 cheers.
Yeah, see, I couldn't really hear the soundtrack over the sound of my own grinding teeth, but that's maybe something else. I mean, your weird little Play-Doh man. He looks like a weird little Play-Doh man. There's not much else I can say about it. I mean, it definitely goes for an aesthetic, and for what it does, it works. It's a shitty puzzle game about being a shitty puzzle guy doing shitty puzzle things, and I can't really fault it for that. It's just not particularly remarkable in any real sense of the word. So I mean, I really just got to give it 2 chairs. It does what it needs to do to get the job done, and that's what it gets its points for.
See, I agree with Jordan on the graphics. They serve one purpose, and that purpose is for you to know where your character is and for you to see where the level designer wanted you to go in order to finish the level. The visuals, they do that, and they only do that and absolutely nothing else. No bonus points there. The music, on the other hand, wow, okay, it actually manages to turn a glorified wonky physics platformer into just this completely derpy but very epic adventure. Sometimes at some points, the music just kicks in at just the right time for you to actually feel motivated in finishing the level and actually progressing and making headway into what you're doing. It's really, really good at what it does. And as far as the music goes, yes, it does get bonus points there. The graphics, well, they're a bit meh, so it gets 3 chairs.
Well, that means that it gets 2 chairs for the shiny and the sounds, as I'm just chuckling at Pedro smacking into walls. Anyways, up next is controls.
Hey, man, he's doing the happy dance, and you're going to be doing the same thing with the controls.
Hail, Hydra!
Yeah. Praise Flying Spaghetti Monster. I played it with the Exclude controller, and I got to say, 100%, I caught myself saying this out loud. Really, what you're looking at right now is when I said it, it's like that is absolutely a good use of available controls. You know, watching Pedro do it, I was like, yeah, clearly Pedro's had a little bit to drink, but
shut up.
The whole like reaching up and going down with the yoga and all that fun stuff, the way it's laid out and the way you do it on just a basic Exclude controller, Xbox or whatever, anything with twin sticks, it's like, that's well done. That's logically, okay, I can dig this. So good on them. Not much more than that. I can say, you know, it's definitely got some RNG built into it just for that added bit of fuckery, but that's something you basically know you're going to get the title screen of this damn game. Can't really hold it against it. There's nothing. It's like, oh man, the controls aren't tight enough, or maybe it's not precise enough. You know what you're getting into. You're getting into 3 chairs, baby.
Yeah, I mean, under normal circumstances, this would get 2 chairs on the controls, but it's kind of the point of the game that it is like kind of crappy controls. I'll agree with you, Venn. It's like very intuitive. You're where what buttons do what is pretty clear cut. Especially with keyboard and mouse, no real issues there. My issue, though, is, god damn it, you cannot fucking grip on something for the life of you. I want, like, gang beast individual control of arms, right? But, like, when you're trying to climb stuff, and, like, the one arm just will not stick for whatever fucking reason, because it's decided that it decided that, oh, no, you're not at the right freaking camera angle. Also, for me, the camera kept, like, moving into weird positions, which kept moving my character's hands around, which was really, really frustrating. At least to me, anyways. What I for like some of the climbing jump segments, I had to adopt some like weird claw posture with my hand, which I guess is kind of native for like Pedro's case, but for me, not so much. I mean, they're all right. And any complaints I have about the controls of this game are semi-mitigated by, well, that's kind of the point, Jordan, you fucking idiot. So I will compromise and give it 3 chairs.
You know, for a game which relies on shoddy, flaily physics, the controls were surprisingly responsive. At no point did I feel like, oh, okay, that was the game's bullshit fucking me over. No, okay, I was sort of expecting that from the physics, but actually when I did fuck up, it was very clearly my fault, and I felt like it was my fault, and that to me just means that, okay, the controls are doing what they should be doing, and I'm just the one who sucks, and that's fair. So if I suck, well, the game doesn't have to suffer for it. 4 chairs.
Did you try and take the TV through the door? I tried to take the TV through the door. I'm like, fuck you, bitch, I'm stealing this TV.
It through the window and bashed the window. Now I go through the door. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I tried to bring the TV along with me, and it snapped in half, and I'm like, oh, okay, you can do that with TVs apparently. Anyways, that's 3 chairs for controls. Let's put a bow on it. Venn, did you have fun playing Human Fall Flat?
Hey man, Human Fall Flat. Human Fall Flat. Oh.
Listen, that's the name of the game when I slip and fall in the shower, man. That's too real.
Triggered. Listen, man, this is a fun little fuck around game. A radically overpriced fuck around game, but fun nonetheless. And if you're like me, a high functioning alcoholic, you're looking at this going, shit, son, that's easy mode. I could operate that IRL. So, this is just like a VR version of a typical afternoon. It says it's supposed to be quirky and humorous and all that. I haven't run into those parts yet. Right now, it's just like clumsy puzzles. I mean, it's entertaining. Like I said, it's a fuck around game. I haven't put too much serious thought into it. It's like, I can kill some time playing this. Don't necessarily hate it. It's like the first hour and a half just seems like one overly long tutorial with a bunch of wickedly simple puzzles. And, the little remotes that you run into, those are kind of fun. He's like, yeah, they're how-tos of like, yeah, you're fucked and all that. Like a Stanley Parable light type narration thing going on there. You can customize your characters, and, this thing should basically run anything up to and including a calculator. If you picked it up at the Humbly Bundly, pay what you want, even $1 if you're cheap, you got a good deal. You got something that's definitely good for a Steam box and kill some time with. This is not something that's going to tie up your attention for hours upon end, but yeah, it's kind of a semi-open world bipedal goat simulator, #show title. But I'll give it the middle of the road, man. It's not fantastic, but it's not a bad game at all, so I'll give you a solid 2.
There's some comments floating around the water cooler that would seem to indicate that if there was some online multiplayer, that this game might be a little more fun. I think the only thing that online multiplayer would do for this game is just like spread the suffering a little bit, so that you don't have to suffer in silence alone. The puzzles aren't really insanely complex. It's just like a very convoluted set of steps that you need to do to accomplish them. The problem with that is it makes every little fucking thing an ordeal. And with like the really slippery control, your man bounces when like you land jumps sometimes, which results in you just like falling off a cliff when you're like, I did not instruct my character to do this at all. He just kind of did that of his own volition. Or like when you're climbing up like really narrow high beams to get to like a high spot, and then you'll just like, oh, I lost my balance. So now I got to start over again. And it's just I get that it's the point of the game, but it's not fun. I don't derive enjoyment from it. Yeah, there's like a little bit of accomplishment when you finish the level and you're like, yeah, I did it. And then you're like, oh, well, time to go do some more puzzles. And also, it's a lot less open worldy than you would think. There's really only like 1 or 2 real ways to solve the puzzle, and you can sort of there's like the easy way, and then there's if you're persistent enough, you can sort of cheese your way into the alternate solution.
Very much telegraphed.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not as open world as you think. It's more really how do I fumble to get to this goal. I just did not enjoy this game. I see what it is, and it does that job well enough. But would I recommend this to someone? Not really. 1 chair.
Yeah, as a third-person platformer, Human Fall Flat is infuriating. As a challenge sandbox with wonky physics where you're given almost complete freedom to reach the end of the level, well, in that respect, it's almost unmatched. Unfortunately, it is still infuriating and has wonky physics, and it's a third-person platformer that has to rely on said wonky physics. It also suffers from a lack of content and variety of content. The game is very short. I didn't actually make it to the end, but looking at the average play times on Steam, people haven't been spending a lot of time with it, and that's because it's very short. And after a point, you start to see like repeat elements, and that is to be expected in puzzle games, of course, but it's the levels tend to become increasingly bigger and bigger, and you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and it feels like a chore at points. Now, there are things that I like, and like in most puzzle games, this one specifically, it lets you get past any one situation in a multitude of different ways. Yes, most of those were planned right from the get-go, because, hey, they made the game, so chances are they kind of knew what they were doing. And much like Goat Simulator, yeah, I do feel like online multiplayer would have helped the experience quite a lot. So as far as, if you take that into account, as far as this particular segment goes, the for now fun category gets 2 chairs, but the moment the game gets online multiplayer, be free to come back and add just the 1 extra chair for my score.
Either way, that totals it out to 1 chair for the fun and 2 chairs for the final score. What do you guys got to think about this? Wrap it up, put a bow on it. Final thoughts?
It's a humbly bundly, so admittedly, I only gave him a $5, but I thought that was fair for 2 games, possibly one that we were going to review. And get $14? Oh, fuck no. Fuck no. If you see this on sale for $5 or less, add it to your collection just for something to do. Like Pedro said, it's not very long, and this is probably not something you want to will to your children.
Yeah, I mean, as entertaining, as marginally entertaining as it is to like sort of watch your baby man sort of wander around like a toddler with no real upper body strength, it does get really tedious really quickly. If you're into this stuff, or like, so the couch multiplayer works. I accidentally hit the start button on one of the controllers plugged into the TV with my butt, and yeah, so it did the automatic split screen, which is pretty nice. But yeah, after a certain point, at least for me, it was just really more of this shit. Whatever. I got 2 hours in. I'm done.
Yeah, Human Fall Flat comes really close to being a proper game, while still relying on the wonky physics and mild repetition that you'd get from other such titles as Goat Simulator. Unfortunately, the wonky physics and obnoxious repetition get real old, real fucking fast. And yeah, it has all the elements of an actual game. It's not just a fuck around physics sandbox simulator. So it could, and it has absolutely no business being this boring, chory, whatever you want to call it. It could be better, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Also, as an added point, when you find yourself like thinking, okay, how do I properly execute this lift so that it does what I want? Like, no, I think about this shit in the gym. I should not have to think about it while I'm playing video games. Anyways, coming up next, we have a very hastily cobbled together hate mail segment. See what's in there. It's mostly YouTube comments, so you know it's going to be good.
Boys and girls. Yeah, it's that time. Time for some hate mail. So, if you've been watching us live, chances are you've been probably shouting at us every single inaccuracy we've said, mentioned, or even asserted during the show. You've probably pointed it out. But if for some reason you're one of those people that does not watch us live, well, you should be watching us live. It's more fun that way, but I don't blame you. So you can go to LinuxGameCast.com. You hit the contact button, make sure to pick LGC Weekly for the little drop-downy thing, and fill out the forum, and leave us your message. That way, guaranteed, we will see it, we will read it, and if it's good, hey, chances are it's going to be right here, right now. If you are a game developer and you want us to talk about your game, though, because, this is technically a gaming show, even though sometimes it doesn't really look like it, you just make sure we have something that all 3 of us, at the very least, can play. Send us 3 Steam keys, 3 Humble keys, 3 GOG keys. I don't even know if GOG keys are a thing, but...
a tar.gz, a zip file, anything.
Oh, yeah, something we can share, like a build we can share among the 3 of us. That's fine. If you don't, and you still decide to say, look at the game we're doing, we're just going to make fun of you. And you don't want that. You really don't.
No, here's my favorite one, is when you can clearly tell that it wasn't a PR person, it was somebody from the game company, went to our forum, filled it out, did the CAPTCHA, and it's not a Linux game.
No, we've had a few of those.
Wow.
And one time, podcasting software.
And This is also true. Hey, man, now that I got the Ryzen, wouldn't it be interesting to see maybe a stream of Curse of the Ravenscribe? Do you think the Ryzen can handle that?
No,
Well,
I think you got good hardware, but it's put together wrong.
No, this is true.
and anyways, we got some gibberish from Evandro because full disclosure, we did not have hate mail until literally about a minute into the pre super chosen, so we pulled these from YouTube. It's going to be great. This is from Evandro. He says, related to the game Escapist 2, where the old fashioned guy says, I don't know who the old fashioned guy is. I must reply with a forum link to Prison Architects.
Because that particular time code there leads to something you were saying on last week's video about Escapists 2. Yeah. And then he links to the introversion forums, which are for
Prison Architects.
Yes, Prison Architect.
And it's release notes or like.
It's a release notes for our Prison Architect 1.0.
So Evandro, if you want to send us some follow-up to actually clarify what.
Hey, Evandro,
I was like, what do you mean exactly?
All we need you to do is rephrase that in the form of a question, and we'll see what we can do, man. So, Pedro did, in fact, play with the gerbil, and somebody had something to say about it.
Yeah, Rudy, he left us a couple of comments on the mouse video on YouTube. He said, I love Rocat and the fact that they have software support for Linux, even if it's unofficial. And unfortunately, most of the gerbils they offer are just too small for his hands. Recently returned a Cone Pure and was recommended a Cone XCD by their support, but it's a bit too simple for me, too few buttons. This one is a bit too small, judging from the specs. Also, I hope someone will take over development of the Linux Rocat tools so that the current and future devices will be added again, like the Leader.
Isn't it Letter?
Leader, whatever. It's just a stupid model name for one of Rocat's hardware devices, which is not supported by the Linux tools because, as Rudy hinted at, the developer, Stefan Achatz, however you want to say it, he is no longer
my pants.
Yeah, he is no longer actively developing the Linux drivers.
Oh software. Man, I definitely saw some in our Linux where your video was posted. You got a couple of comments on that, and there was.
I gotta go track that down.
Yeah, it was a thing. It was like, what's that? Oh, neat. Okay, that's the thing. And I'm like, I'm not going to buy anything because the guy who was making the software, not the company, the guy who was voluntarily making the software is not doing it anymore. Even though the software works, they're not going to buy the product. It's like, man, this is like the only mouse that does the extra YOLO swag on Linux, man.
Without having to resort to Xorg.
Yeah,
that's a biggie.
Yeah, every single other mouse, including the one that Venn is using right now, they have some YOLO support for like different profiles and whatnot. But you absolutely need Windows to load the software and get those profiles loaded into the mouse's firmware. With the Rocat, the Kova and the cones and some of the keyboards and a few others, you can actually do that all on Linux all the time. Now, there is a bug with this mouse specifically. If you try to use the color picker, there are some like predefined colors for the LEDs. Those don't work. But if you use the color wheel or you just go in and set the like the RGB hex code, that will work just fine. So now, you get all the YOLO swag.
There was one library, and I haven't checked in on it. But it was something like librat or something like that. It was supposed to be like some sort of universal shim interface for all these various gaming devices.
Ratbag.
Yep.
Yes.
Ratbag, yeah. Did anything come out of that?
It did. I think it's still being actively maintained, but most of the devices that work with it are Razer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say this. Both the MSI Tomahawk from Clogs, has RGB bullshit on it, and the Wraith Spire cooler has RGB bullshit on it, and that's all safely locked inside a windowless case. Fuck that noise. Seriously.
So when you open it up, do you get like the sense of what's that fucking the blue radiation that comes off of nuclear reactors? There's a name that I'm spacing on.
No. Well, it's all
cancer.
Like red, it's because Team AMD. That's how I know it cut on, because I can open up the front panel and I can see through the 5 1/4 inch bays. I can see the red glow in there, and I'm like, yeah, it cut on. All right. Yeah. That's brilliant, because on that bombshell, let's cue the music. We got to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I've been Venn Stone. You can always talk to me at Venn Stone on Twitter. I will try to get back to you, but do please keep in mind, we're not going to have a long conversation, 120 characters at a time. Send me a fucking email. It's kind of brilliant like that. Plus Venn Stone on G+, if you want to scream at me there.
I'm Jordan Spung. You can find me at The Burning Fool on Twitter, plus Jordan Spung on Google+. If you want to have a long, in-depth conversation that goes one character at a time.
Okay. I was a little distracted with the anime GIFs that Mir has been sharing on Discord, which you could totally get if you kick us a few shekels on Patreon. Just saying. But I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted4 on Twitter, or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
Yes, Cherenkov radiation. That's what I was trying to frickin' think of. Thank you, Steve.
Cancer. It's called cancer.
So is sunlight and cigarettes. and autism vaccines. I don't know, man.
Jesus, just
autism vaccines cause cancer.
And of course, I didn't have time to make the credits because reasons. So we're gonna pretend they're rolling right now. Everyone, party!
Fixing it in post.
Fixing it in post.
If you're watching in post, fuck you.
No, if you're watching in post, thank you for fucking subscribing to our shit on our updated RSS feeds and YouTube and Patreon and all that shit.
If you're listening in post, you're awesome. If you're watching in post, what's wrong with you?
If you're watching this through the post, how did it get sent to you in like an SD card, like a flash drive or something?
No, man, I forget who it was. You probably pop up on Discord and or IOC in a minute. Like, I've been watching this show for like 3 years, and I just realized they have credits and my name's in it.
Good stuff. See, we need to start injecting like Marvel-esque post-credit scenes. Sam Jackson just walks in. Well. You guys are a bunch of rotten assholes. Stay the fuck away from the Avengers.
Do you know how much nightmare fuel it's going to be once we have...